Okay, I'm still not sure what happened last night, but hopefully you're getting this. And I'm a little bit late. I put a little post up, just a notice to say we were going to go live at 1:15. So by the look of it, I'm about 15, 11 or 12 minutes late. So anyway, not sure how many people have got that. Oh, Bob's just turned up, so we must be working. Um, and anyway, I'm 10 minutes late because I was trying to rush the press release and I got carried away and I thought, oh shit, I forgot to do the live. Anyway, I will try to set, as I've mentioned a few times, I will try to set a specific timeline for these lives so people know they're coming up, and that way people can see them right from the very beginning and so on, and enjoy the moment. So anyway, here we go. So sorry about being about 10 minutes late again here. I haven't caught up on any dramatic news from any of the entrants yet, and the last I looked at the tracker was 4 hours ago, or 3 hours ago. So I'll just come across now, put you on the tracker, and we should be looking at the 1600 tracker update. So we can start to talk about that. Let's see if this is rolled over. 1400 UTC. That's interesting. Why is that happening? 1400 UTC. Maybe they're within the 2 hours. There was meant to be one at 1600, which is 5 o'clock, and it's 5:30 here. I don't know what's going on there. We might be a bit out of sync. I could have done this earlier. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll just push this up here and let's get out of the way and just load it up. We managed to track down a hatch for Ayrton, so that's kind of cool. It's one of the original ones, so Arzu is onto that, and she's going to try and get that into Marquises, because I said Ayrton was thinking he changed in Fiji, but I said no, it's a safety issue. I haven't told him that yet, but we need to make sure that the hatches are secure, so it needs to be done sooner rather than later. So she's going to try and freight that into Marquises somehow, to Nuku'hiva, and Ayrton will be able to fit it. It's the same as one that was originally fitted there, so not this current one. The one that broke was generic from somewhere. I don't know where he got it. Excuse me. And so it goes. Anyway, let's have a look here. See if the boys have left. No, they haven't. They're still sitting there. So Popeye and the boys, 99 and 100, they're still in Panama City. And I thought this was going to be 20 minutes old, these timelines. So Gary's doing okay. He's in the current stream, which you may remember. They're all sitting in it right now. There's not a lot of breeze here. You can see the breeze is still holding, as we suggested yesterday. It's probably 10 to 15 knots, and the sea should be reasonably calm because it's going with the current. So Gary's doing 5.6 knots and no 24-hour numbers on that. Why is that? No 24-hour numbers on anything. Okay, that's unusual. So this is absolutely meant to be a 1600 update report. It's only 1400. So sometimes this happens. It needs to settle down a bit, but I can't give you the 24-hour run. But anyway, Gary's doing 5.6. Kerry is catching up quickly to the tail enders, but he did lose out a little bit on the leaders. I think we remembered last night it was 35 miles behind. He's doing 6.5 knots at the moment. Just for the sake of the exercise, while we're here, I will peg his distance from the leaders here. I'll build it up to make it a little bit more accurate. And let's see, transom to transom. He was 35 miles, if I remember rightly, last time. So against Dan, who's the current leader still, he's now 60. Oh, maybe I forget. He couldn't have lost 30 miles, surely. I forget now. I'll have to look back at my notes. If anyone remembers what I said last night, we can see whether he's gaining or losing. But he certainly wasn't 35 miles behind, so he must have been 65 or something. So maybe he's holding his own. I'll write it down and check it later. So he's currently about 62, 63 miles behind the leaders. So that was a bit of a muck up. But anyway, they're all having fun. Ayrton must have heard my message to him last night, because you can see there's a sudden course change. He probably got on his mini and watched the update, so he went boing straight back into the current, which is a good thing. So Ayrton's hanging in beside Eric, doing 6.2 knots, and Eric is doing 6.3 knots. So they're still both okay. And Jasmine and Josh, who left together 2 hours after the start, Jasmine is actually in front of Josh. So that's fun. It's kind of fun. 6.5 knots. Not sure of the 24-hour run, but it's distorted because of the current. And Josh is doing 6.1 knots. So all having fun. Way out here on the side. Bit of a crossover there because Pila was previously on the inside and the others have crossed over her. So I'm not sure why. But anyway, we'll look at the current in a minute. Doing 4.7 knots. So the wind is down there for sure. 5 knots for Christian. And then coming across the fleet, Jacob, who's pushing out the front there. That's pretty good for Jacob because, doing 6 knots, he might be getting more current. I'm not sure. 6.8 knots. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a current gradient there for sure. So 6.8 for Dan and 6.5 for Adam. So back here, Mark Sinclair, he's plodding along, doing fine. You can't get it front, can't catch him. Renaud still sitting on second. Maybe he's going to just psych him out and just sit there on Dan's quarter. But Dan is actually running in the lead at the moment, 6.3. But because there's no crown there, it's suggesting to me maybe I should have tried to update because I didn't refresh this. So in a minute, I'm going to refresh it and see if anything changes. But all kind of fun. So let's just confirm where the current is right now. There it is. Okay, so it's fun to watch. It's big current, and there's another current patch coming up in the future. So you can see, you can actually, I can just detect a little bit more current over here than the others. They want to hang on to it as much as they can, but Pila's doing 4.7 in the same weather gradient, and Dan over here is doing 6, Christian's 5, 6.1. Yeah, I mean, they're still doing okay, but there's obviously a bit of difference there. Guys up the front, yeah. So there's the current patch. Everyone's in it. Even Gary's in it now. That's a big boost. And for those that have forgotten how it works, if we come down here and look at this is the scale, the speed scale. You can see these patches right over here on the bottom. It's 3.2 knots, and that's the grey area. So this is showing, potentially 3 knot current there. Luckily, the wind is in the same direction, so you can't afford to miss that. And the majority of fleet are there, so that's kind of cool. If we stretch that back open a little bit, bring it up here, just to see what's coming up next, and then we'll look at the weather. You can see there's another big patch there, and whilst they're keen to get down here to the equator, you can see some issues there, and they got to go right down. But we'll talk about the weather because there's a lot of head currents there. They're coming down here underneath the Galapagos, maybe. They're already far enough along the way to make the commitment that they're not going to go up here to the north, which you can do sometimes. It's not necessarily the best thing, but that's part of the course. So let's just go back. We're going to look at the wind. So in fact, I'll start a conversation here while we're already down, and I'll talk about the tactics and where they're going to go and what they're going to have to put up with to get there. So here's the general track going through to Marquesas. Here's the Galapagos right there. Okay, so it's about 4,700 miles across there in total. That's what they're looking at. And you've got generally, I've got to try and pick the right scale here. That doesn't really show you, but you can sort of see here, this is the bottom end of the Southeast Trades. There's the Southeast Trades, and they're reaching up quite high at the moment, which looks kind of good. And in fact, the Southeast Trades are joining with the Northeast Trades up here. This is the Northeasterly Trades. They're joining a little bit, but here's the equator, and you know about the doldrums over in the on the Atlantic side. Well, there's a bit of a tropical convergence here and a little bit of a doldrums and so on, but this is the danger area. This is always recognized as being the problem getting to the west. If you decide to take this southerly route to get down to the Southeast Trades as quick as you can, you've got to be careful because this is no man's land, and you can already see it there. Even with the trade winds coming up so high, you can see there's a bit of a hole here, and that's like the doldrums. Okay, so if we just push this back, and we'll run the weather forward, and we'll see what happens to the weather over the next number of days. And before I do that, I'll just give you a heads up on the distance to the Galapagos. So here's the fleet there now. So 650 miles, 660 miles. Excuse me. 660 miles. Let's just say they're managing to do a 120-mile day. That's going to be 5 days near enough. Okay, so it's about 5 days from now. It's the 27th, getting late on the 27th. So January, February, March. There's 31 in March, and it's 27. 8 to 9, 30, 31, 4. So we're probably going out to about the 2nd of April before they're around the Galapagos region, coming underneath it here. And before they get there, you can see at the moment there's these headwinds there. That's just the way it's coming. That's a bit of the flow of the southeasters started to hook around. So let's look at the short term. I know I'm going in and out, but I'll just do that because they don't want to collide with this. So we'll look at the next 5 days, just going down towards Galapagos first. Then I'll show you what happens with the trades. So here we go. We're just clicking this through. It's the 27th. That's the end of the 27th. It's going to get light. So the 28th, it's still going light. So they're going to slow down a bit. And this is where they'll start to run out of this breeze, and they'll come into this other little. There's a bomb there, just all extending out 360 degrees around the center, and that'll create unstable weather. So there could be thunderstorms again and things like that. There's the 28th. Now they've still got a nice breeze there. Those headwinds disappeared. This is 28, 29. So they'll keep riding that. So that's kind of good. Nothing wrong there. Those headwinds leading into the Galapagos has disappeared, and so they'll still be riding. You can see really light. They'll be very slow. They won't make 120-mile days. They'll run out of current. There's not a lot of current there. There's a little bit. 2 lots. So there's the second lot. So they'll bounce with that. Right. So there's the current. That'll help them get down. So that's the next 3 days. They'll have current with them, but very light winds. So back to the wind and carrying on. Oh, I've got to hit that to make it bounce again. Okay. So there goes the 30th. They still won't be there yet. That's, again, more light breezes. This will be really slow. The current will be doing more work. So they're not going to make it by the 2nd. This is the 30th, 31st. Very light, very slow, very hot. We're into the 1st there. So they're only going to, I said they'd make it by the 2nd if they're doing 120-mile days. They'll get none of that. And this will be unstable. There'll be thunderstorms in there again, very much like the doldrums coming down. So at that point, they're probably going to be about here. So there's the 2nd of April. And we go through now. We're starting to see still light winds. This is the 3rd. And I think they'll still be struggling to get there by the 3rd. All right. And then we're coming into the 4th, and you can see now this is the big hole, right, that everyone talks about when you're trying to get away from that. And so here's the next thing. You see what's happened there straight away? The trade winds have dropped down. So if we come back to look at the big picture of the trades, the historical situation, you can see the trades here, these southeasterlies have extended right up nearly to the equator, right? And that's kind of good if it stays like that. But usually they're settled down here, only at about 8 degrees, right? So they've got to keep coming down and struggling down in this light wind zone at the end of beside the Galapagos. And I'll just show you here. We're still on the wind. I'll push you through it again and show you how it fluctuates and pushes back down again. So there's the 28th, and you're watching basically the line at the top of the trades here. They're still up high. They're about 3 degrees. And you'll see this whole band of breeze disappear and come down here somewhere, which is where it historically is meant to be. There goes the 28th. You can see there's parts of it dropping down already. Dropping down, there's the 30th, and they're not even in the Galapagos yet. You see they've still got this big hole. This is where you can get bogged down. And I said last night, the first boat into the trades, the first one that gets solidly in there, you can go for it. And meanwhile, there's big doldrums extended north. And sometimes some people come out of that current stream and try and head up here over the north, and I'll explain that in a minute. If the northern trades come down, you can sometimes hook on it and ride it down and just stay on top of the on top of the no wind zone there. But anyway, here we go. So there's the first, and you can see now the southeast trades are starting to lower. They've already come down here to 5 degrees. So the boats coming down have got to push even lower to try and get to them. And this is the no-go zone. But if you're up here on the north, you can see you can ride it down that way as well. So, but the whole fleet probably following Renaud and Renaud and Co. have decided to go the southern route, which is fine. You know, it's not a lot in it. There's no right or wrong, but you can see there the trades are now still holding underneath 5 degrees, and we'll go right through to the 4th, and now that's right through to the end there. And so what you got there is pretty much what I'd say historic. This is where it usually sits. So they're going to push down, push down, push down, and somehow try and get down into this lot. If we come across here to the Marquises, it's what I was saying before, there is a northern route that comes across and you can try and just sail down this zone. It's not such a big hole. There is light winds there, but it can take a long time. So I think they're all doing the right thing at the moment. It looks a bit more favourable because you can see if we come back to the real-time weather today, it's not so easy to get up here into the north either. It's not so bad, but this is showing a lot better here than it usually is. And I think they're going to get caught. So this is where you'll see them slow right down, and it'll be a real steady as she goes to get into these trades. And the first one into the trade is going to rocket off. Just let's have a look at the big picture for currents along the way. You can see the transition, and this is where the trades kick in here as well. So there's the north of the Galapagos. You don't want to be there. They're going to cut down through this little one, cut down here somewhere, and struggle. But once they get there, they've got this southern equatorial current, and it's all going with them. But the bad news is, if you're going to try and hook into this with the currents, you're probably going to be, if we go back to the wind, you're going to be too high. Because if we look at where that settles down here, there's a lot less wind there where the current is than there is down here. So I think you'd be better off with the breeze rather than try and sit up here in the current and go for it. So that's a bit of a very brief sort of shortcut to the way the routing goes here. But this is the big challenge. This is where you can sit for 2 weeks sometimes and go virtually nowhere. Okay, so I'm going to just try now to reboot this and see if we get maybe this will go crazy now. I'm just going to have a quick try to see if the current positions are the latest positions. And let's just see. I can answer it straight away. Oh, they are. Look at that. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, the weather's still the same. So we'll just pick up here and just see. That was because I was getting bogged down with my press release. I nearly completely forgot to be here. So there we go. We've got the 1600 positions. We probably have the 24-hour run stuff. Yep, we have. So I'll quickly go through it one more time. You can see they're on the edge of the breeze line there. Gary back here, daily run 112. That's okay. Kerry Harris 116. I would have thought it would have been more than that because of the current. 93. So they're really drifting along for Burton. And 101 for Eric. This is just the daily runs. We went through the other stuff. 118 for Josh. Peeler 122. That's pretty good. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Kristen, he's making tracks. 117. Jasmine 116, holding their own. Jacob 116. Mark Sinclair, forget about that. Doesn't count. Renaud 121, and now we've got the crown on Dan Turner. Ooh, Nikki will be excited. Ooh, japers. And they can celebrate every day. They've got video link. Ooh, boy. On the Starlink, Dan's already popping stuff out. I've seen a little bit from some of the others, but Dan and Nikki will be burning the midnight oil with that lot, leading the way in front of Renaud. Maybe Renaud's trying to psych him out. No idea. 121. And Dan Turk, 105, and Adam, 105 as well. So that's pretty cool. I wonder if the boys back here got underway in the last couple of hours. Oh, they might be. Nope, still sitting there, still enjoying the ride, so they'll be away. I think they were scheduling to get away sometime today. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday. But it'll probably be Friday. Oh, you never want to leave on a Friday. So maybe they have to leave on Saturday. I don't care about bananas on boats, but I never leave on a Friday, ever. I did once. It's a whole story in itself. Included a bloody nose, nearly losing my boat off the marina. It wasn't tied on and running into a big rock in the Brisbane River. All three in the one day. And I never left on a Friday ever again. So I think that's all I got to say there. I'll come back and see if there's any questions. Oh, bloody hell. Hide the questions coming through there. I didn't see that. I just knocked them out, but you watch, they'll pop up again. So here we go. I'm back again. And we'll see. Generally speaking, this is going to be somewhere around this time is where we're going to try for the tracker updates. And as I say, once I settle in, I'll try and do it. It won't be tomorrow. I've got a big meeting tomorrow at 3:30, 4:30. Oh, yeah, maybe 5 o'clock tomorrow. I've got a meeting at 3:30 here. Hey, Bob, Rachel, Don, your screen is a bit blurred. Yeah, that's the speed of the internet. Mine's showing really clear here. I'm on Starlink, but surprisingly, since we've been back, the Starlink's been a bit in and out, fluctuating between 3 and 4 bars all the time. So if it's not your internet, then it's probably been mine. I'm looking at me really clearly at the moment, but it's right back to front again. I don't know what goes on there because it's that side. Anyway, I'll try and sort that out. Thanks for all the entertaining fact-filled updates. One each leg. I noticed you saying that you would be checking the entrance celestial navigation skill, and each would need to show the ability. Yeah, I'm just writing about that in the press release. There's only one, that didn't get a green card, and that was John. He hadn't completed his. Not John. It was Popeye. Now I get them mixed up all the time. Hadn't quite completed it, but he'd already sort of decided that it wasn't going to happen anyway, and so now he's not racing. Everyone else has satisfied my inspections. Captain Coconut was running pretty much full-time navigation school for all the entrants. So if you're an MGR entrant thinking about 2029, you better make sure you know how to navigate, because it's going to be a lot more strict on the next one. If you can't cut it, you won't get a green card. But fortunately, in Lagos, John Bankart was running nav classes, and then ever since then, we did classes in Antigua and classes in Panama, courtesy of Captain Coconut, and he was working hard with them and got them all up to speed. They all know how to do a position line from a morning or an afternoon site. They know how to do their meridian passage. They know how to plot those positions and transfer it from their plotting sheets to the chart. It's just that there's still about 5 of them that have been approved to go to Marquises, and they have to actually use that knowledge now to take their fixes, create a fix, together, run up a fix from morning or afternoon and so on, and then send me photos from Marquises, and then I'll let them continue. So there's about 5 that aren't out of the woodwork yet. But even Jasmine was working for a few hours frantically on the last day to finally get a green card, but she didn't get it. So we'll be a lot more strict. And for those that didn't hear, we're actually requiring celestial navigation skills to the extent of doing a meridian passage for the next Globe 580 Transat at the end of 26. Previously, we hadn't worried about it for the Transat, but we think it's more responsible, and just a meridian passage, which is very easy, and it gives you an east-west position line, so you could easily find Antigua. It gives you a latitude. It's easy to work. You get a latitude, and that'll get you home if you have a problem for the Transat. So that was the single most challenging thing for all of the entrants, bar none. Okay, and we were a little bit tolerant on this one. Anyway, one last g'day, Mike. It's showing 1600 for me on the tracker. Yeah, I was so busy I forgot to reboot everything before the start. I looked up in the middle of my press release and said, Tippers, I'm 10 minutes late or something, and quickly just turned everything on. Rathan, I wonder if you could let us know what basically celestial skills must each entrant need for demonstrate you considered okay to continue. Well, that was it. Even though they hadn't done the whole shooting match and done a lot of plots, they were okay to leave When they got across the Tasman, they had to show that they could do a meridian passage, which they did. That's very easy. And then they learnt about morning sights and afternoon sights in Antigua, and some of them got it. And then they had to plot those sights. Some of them got out of the workings, but then they actually couldn't plot them to work out, where you go from your assumed position into your real position line, and how you then transfer that to another position line from a morning or an afternoon sight or whatever, and then plot that fix onto their chart. So now they've proved they can do all that, but some of them still haven't done it. They haven't done it real time live while they're out there doing all the stuff. So they've got to do that now. David, thanks for the updates. Any info about plans for 980? No, it's not happening. All the other entrants. We had a big discussion about this in Panama. The 980 is a beautiful boat. We may. Yanis did a great job of designing it and putting it together. He's probably disappointed that we decided not to go with it for various reasons, and we haven't released it. B&B are ready to start kitting it up and all the rest of it. But with these things, when it's more than just the boat design, you've got to have a whole movement, you might say, to make it interesting for someone to build the boat. On the basis you've got to have something to do with it. Now, this would be a great club racer. There's no question. It's sail area displacement ratio is about the same as the older Figaro 3s, right? Heap truckload of sail area, 2.6 ton full displacement, fits in a 40-foot, 9'6" high container on its side. Everything fits into one container. I mean, it's a very cool boat, lots of watertight bulkheads, flush deck, all that sort of stuff. But what do you do with it? And we're so busy with the 580 and so on, and we don't want to confuse the concept of this one in a position to put in the time, effort, and money to develop the class and all those sorts of things. So at this stage, nothing's happening, but who knows where it might go in the future. We may just release it. The plan was that we would only sell kits because it's built in a different format. It's built with frames, not timber frames. It's built with cut frames, plywood cut frames that all have to be glassed into the chines and so on. So it's easy to make it accurate. That's the first thing. It's very time efficient because all the frames are cut, right? So you assemble all of those bits together like a jigsaw, but you've got to do a lot of glassing and filleting and so on. So it lends itself very well. The difference with it's not a boat that you'd build from plans. It's a boat that you'd build from a kit, and it's very quick, and it's a cool boat. It's got toilet and shower arrangement on the starboard side, or a big wet locker and galley, and nice saloon and big chart table at the front of the cabin that comes down, big flush deck forward of the from just after the mast forward. And then a first compartment has a double bed and a single bed in there if you want it that way, or it's storage. And then the next compartment forward has more storage before you get up the collision at the front, and super fast. So we'll wait and see, but there's nothing happening in the near future. I digress. Wind forecast for Popeye does not look good next week. That's part of the course. If you got to try and hang on to the fleet, but yeah. And the weather system's out of there by what I'm seeing, and I've never really looked at it a lot except for the last month, does go very much in weekly lots. Depends on what is drifting around out there. So if you get a good week, and I think our guys have been pretty lucky, the weather's not bad for them at the moment. It's been pretty quick getting out of there. And Gary's hanging into that lot as well. So I've seen a lot worse than that over the last 3 weeks. So I think everyone's been okay with that, and the others, well, Popeye and Co. will have to wait and see. I hope they get a good run. The fleet seems to be within a narrow window of success to the trades. Absolutely. Wind's building ahead and dying behind next week. Yeah, I really do think that we've been pretty lucky at the moment. It was a good time to start, and everyone's making the most of it, and they're getting a good kick because you don't really want to sit around a lot there when it's happening, but because there's a lot of traffic, but they're just up north of it, and anyone coming in, even a steamer or whatever, they have weather routers to try and save them fuel. They're not going to be coming inbound on that, so they're well clear of it. Most of the ones coming inbound are underneath it, so not too bad. I talk about the UFOs getting out of Panama because I've often read about and hear about people seeing a lot of junk and rubbish coming out from that part of the world, but I haven't heard anyone of our fleet yet saying anything. But sometimes boats hit things in there. But so far, so good, touch wood. What kind of Starlink are they using? It's all the minis. You can buy them for $200 in Panama. I nearly bought a spare one to give to a friend here because, I mean, they're still not expensive. Here in France, we paid $390, I think, for our mini Starlink, or was it $365? I can't remember. Anyway, they are a good price there, and then everyone's looking at different plans. I spoke about it last night on the tracker update. So, but the mini, I mean, it's unheard of. It's crazy. Who would have thought, a year ago that you'd be sailing across around the world with real-time live streaming YouTube movies? You could kick back in the cockpit as the sun's setting with your sundowner and watch movies, stream movies. Not to mention all the other things you can do. So it's a changing world. All right, Pete. Eric asked, do you think it would be better to start the race on the west coast of Panama, and finish on the east? Is this a trick? This is from Jane, I think.
Yeah,
somebody asked, do you think it would be better to start the race on the west coast of Panama, which we did, and finish on the east coast of Panama? Oh, I see what you mean. Would that help with the logistics and cost? No, I can't quite. Start on Panama Pacific side. You've got to get your boat to the Panama Pacific side. So logistics and cost wasn't extreme. I just brought that up in the press release. If we want to come across with a tow or rest of it, the cost would be, they talk about €50,000 for 15 boats, but that was a suggestion. I think it'd more likely run 55 or probably €60,000. The logistics of joining up to make that work is that remembering that all have to go to Shelter Bay Marina and hang out and wait for the other boats to come in. All of the boats, when they got there, wanted to haul out anyway to paint the bottom and all those sorts of things because it hadn't been done for a long time since Lagos, and they want to prep for the Pacific. So the boats are going to be pulled out of the water anyway. They all had work to do. It was quite a demanding leg in a bit of a way. And so everyone was very busy working. And if you've got to tow your way through and pay for a big tow or whatever, you've then all got to be ready to move at one time. You can't have any one person that's 6 hours late. Forget it. You've missed the boat. So the logistics just of doing that, to coordinate everyone to be ready at the same time, ready to go, and then join the queue, 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, and then just get towed through to the other side and then come out is not easy, and it would be impractical. And even then, if you divide the cost by 15, it's like $3,000 a head. Okay, so the transit cost was €850 or 850 US something, just for the trailer ride from one side to the other. The launch on the other side, sometimes they have to wait overnight, so they got charged another 25, 30, 40 euro, US, in the car park waiting to launch the next day. So the relaunch on the other side varied between 150 and 200 US dollars. That's to launch into the Pacific. And coming out this side varied again, depending on whether boats wanted to come out and stay out for 4 or 5 days to paint the bottom and so on. So it was, you could say it was the land transit side was 850. We had one other offer from a trucking company, which was going to work out at about 1,250, right? And even that was considered cheap at the time. So 850 from our mate over there, Jose, in the Carefree Boat Club, worked out really well. So that was the way it worked, and I was very happy. From our perspective, it was always going to be an adventure because no one had done it. In fact, there's a bit of a headline story. We're saying it's the first time ever. Big logistics move, 15 580s overland across from the Atlantic to the Pacific. That was quite cool. Everyone's good, so we were happy. And here we go, Simon. Is Captain Coconut a follow-up boat? He's not a follow-up boat. He's struggling to keep up boat. He's not renowned for speed, but he's having fun. He's on board solo by himself on this one. He's just all our mates, and he's been very handy and very helpful. Although he was late at the start, and I will be having stern words with him about that. If you saw the live, you see what was going on. We get out there and there's no start boat, and the line we made was really big between the Panama Canal entrance buoy and the headland. And so we were using Coconut to pick the line and squeeze it up and make it from about there to there. we get out there and he's not there. And I think, shit, we don't have a start boat. So we had to position and just hold station because I couldn't see him coming around the corner. And then we decided on a 5-minute delay because we got there, we missed the 10-minute gun. So we did a for the 10-minute gun, and then we were there for 5 minutes. And just before the 5-minute gun, Jill and Popeye came in and took over, and then we were free to move. And then after the start, when Popeye was going, we went and picked up Jill, and Christine was on Coconut as well, and took them off. So Mark is now sailing solo of the Marquises. So Jill did a great job starting, and he's a great navigation teacher, and he's just fun. We've known him for a long time. He skippered our boat, Explorer, in the last Ocean Globe race. Jill was a crew member. So Mark actually accosted one of the crew, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, and they're having a great time, and everyone's happy there, and we've got our own little start boat. And, he's a cool guy. So he's not really a follow-up boat. But he's happy to try and rendezvous and take photos and stuff like that if he can. But yeah, absolutely not. They're all unassisted, going, doing their own thing. So does the leaderboard include times for leg 1 and 2? Yes, all the leaderboards on all our races and all the other bits remain. They remain on the website. So if you got onto the Golden Globe race, you can video rewind all the fleet and replay it, it's very easy to rewind the tracker, and you can do the same for the Globe 580 Transat. If you want to see the fleet going across the Atlantic, you can rewind it all. Okay, it's got the slot down the bottom there. You just send it back out and replay that. And so leg 1 has a replay for the mini Globe race, and this current leg will also have a replay. But remembering that this is a leg from Panama all the way through to Fiji. So when they stop for 8 days, the tracker will still be pinging every 4 hours for those 8 days, and then they take off again. And there is a declared finish and start time for each of their pit stops. And we check that it's the 8 days to make sure it's right. And so they'll all have an extra 23 days in their time at sea, which we then, if they've done it right, we do our own manual calculation at the end, because we're only racing with sea time for each of the legs. So you don't get a point for winning leg 1 and another point for winning leg 2 and so on and so forth. It's around the world. So we'll work that out and see how it goes. Okay, so I think that's it. Fair winds to all. Thanks, Simon. So we'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, probably about 6 o'clock, I reckon, tomorrow. And we'll see how we go, but sometime in the afternoon. Okay, thanks a lot, and we'll see you all again later on. Bye-bye.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.